We are determined to finishing this musical. I realize that makes it sound like I'm not enjoying it. Look, as much as wisdom left me extremely frustrated, I do want to know the rest. Also, we haven't hit the slaughter of the suitors, and let's be real, guys. Slaughter of the suitors. We are aiming for the slaughter of the suitors. It's like, yes. We are here at the Vengeance Saga. A saga that, according to essentially my entire comment section, is going to give me an aneurysm. Ever since the My Goodbye video came out, everyone was dropping at least one song title, and then started getting far more vague and just saying in general this saga was going to leave me somehow physically, mentally debilitated. Or that I'd like burn my apartment down or something, like, okay. Which, for those of you who are just here to essentially watch me suffer, I guess, I hope that entertains you. No, like, I can get how you're anticipating how someone will react. You anticipate it's going to be a big reaction, whether that be positive, negative, or somehow a mixture of both, and you just are building the anticipation for that. And I think we've all just sort of been driving here to the Vengeance Saga. At this point, if we're not going to be spending any more time, at least, with Telemachus and Ithaca and all of the political gamesmanship that should be happening over there, as opposed to what absolutely wasn't there in Wisdom, we've just got to move Odysseus along. Just move him along. You get him off Calypso's island, and then I'm sort of curious what we'll do. Because I had predicted that what I jokingly call the kind of in-between adventures, the in-between section of the Odyssey, is getting Odysseus from Calypso's island to Ithaca. There are, like, things that happen in the middle there, but given how the story has been restructured in that we've laid it out in a linear format, one of those major stops, which is what is called the island of a group of people known as the Phaeacians, kind of serves less purpose when you lay the story out in a linear manner, because a lot of the purpose of that stop is to give Odysseus the chance to go,
"Bet you're wondering how I got in this situation."
Right, like, it's the chance for him to tell his story, which is how we know everything, I guess we could say, about Cyclops and Circe and the underworld and Helios's cattle, and all these other places that didn't even get mentioned in Epic. So that is how we learn a lot about his adventures, the front half of his nostos, if you will. But again, when you remove that narrative structure, which suits the epic poem very well and kind of the style of storytelling that the ancient Greeks loved to use, again, that's not a knock. I kind of anticipated we'd lay it out in a linear format. It just, in many ways, makes your life easier. Then a stop like the Isle of Phaeacians doesn't serve as much of a purpose. So if I had to guess, we're gonna open here with Odysseus being able to leave Calypso's island. Zeus sends Hermes to basically tell Calypso, let that Ithacan man go, send him on his way, and Hermes then basically says, here's how it's gonna go. At which point we then kind of hear how it's meant to go, so long as nothing else might happen oddly in the middle of it. Mainly, it's going to take Odysseus a bunch of days to essentially get a small raft together, and Calypso will give him some gifts, mainly like clothes and some stuff to keep on the raft. He's going to sail out. It should take him about 20 days to get from Calypso's island to the Isle of the Phaeacians, at which point he will then stop, rest, and recoup and do all this stuff there, at which point he then makes his way home. There's stuff that happens in the middle of that. Mainly, Poseidon figures out what's going on, and he's not happy about it.
Very not happy about it.
He's like, I go to party my face off in Ethiopia, and you guys pull this shit. What the fuck? He also knows that if Odysseus reaches Phaeacia, that's kind of the end of the whole thing, because there's a prophecy of sorts that if he at least reaches that stop, Odysseus that is, then he's going to be able, as Poseidon says, escape the noose of pain, essentially, that he's trying to slip around his neck. That essentially the revenge is over. The vengeance quest, if you will, is done. You've punished him that much, that far, and that once he reaches Phaeacia, Odysseus is inside of his goal, and he's going to achieve his goal, which is going home. Of course, he's going to find yet more pain there, but, like, that's the fun climax of the story, is being like, Odysseus is finally home, and we can finally deal with the suitors. We get the climax, the catharsis. It's all going to be great. So the fact that we have multiple songs in this saga makes me very curious, because I'm like, I'd assumed we're not going to hit the Isle of the Phaeacians, so what exactly are we going to do? Although, admittedly, looking at this track list, I have concerns seeing the title Charybdis, because why is Charybdis here? That'd be really weird. It's not the same direction. Confusion. let's go into the first song, which is I'm Not Sorry for Loving You. Oh, actually starting now looking at this cover art for the album, which, I mean, I haven't talked about any of the album art. It's all been very interesting. It looks like that is meant to be Poseidon's trident, and we have a sea of water and blood, which is... I don't want to read too much into that, but the eyebrow is getting raised. Questions are being raised. But all right, let's go into Not Sorry for Loving You. Calypso. We giving her another song?
Someone arrived today. They said they're taking you away.
Hermes.
That you're not mine to save. And soon I won't get to see your face. So
I will preface this again. I should have prefaced this again if I'd known the song was going to be like a very Calypso-driven song. As I did with Love in Paradise, that any shade I'm going to throw towards Calypso is predominantly with Calypso as a character, not necessarily shade towards Jorge. If I'm going to be talking about his writing specifically, I will. But in general, I'm probably talking about Calypso, the character, because I don't enjoy her in that she is a poster child for examples of emotional and like narcissistic abuse. So the whole that you're not mine to save, Hermes has a pretty reasonably lengthed conversation with Calypso because she obviously does not want to let Odysseus go. She's, you know, despite holding him hostage for 7 years, she does not get that what she's doing is wrong, that he wants to leave, that he does not love her, that he wants nothing to do with her, and that this is all really uncool and a mess. So there's that, but obviously who she's talking about is Hermes. I wonder if Jorge is keeping that a secret, given we left the ending of God Games technically a little vague as to whether or not Zeus is going to help or allow Odysseus to leave, which, I mean, I argued that in the lyrics of Thunderbringer, it's been made pretty clear he's going to get to leave, given the choice that was made. And in this case, the someone arrived. I wonder if Jorge is playing upon an audience who has no idea who has come to Calypso's island, that it'll be potentially Athena, though again, given how God Games seem to play out, that'd be a little weird. Regardless, we're talking about Hermes. It's his job, he's the messenger, he does this quite frequently, and she's gotta let him go. Thank God. For the gods.
I came by to say you're unlike anyone I have ever known, 'cause you're all I've ever known.
Given how long her existence has been, that's extremely unlikely. However, she does basically seem to spend all of her time on her island. She just does not leave. It's never really, again, I think I had explained best to my ability in her previous video that it's never really known exactly why she doesn't leave, and later classical sources will imply that it seems like she can't leave, or at least that's what I get from the translation. So anybody who has read the actual ancient Greek can tell me if there's a more linguistic, like, certainty to that. But she just sort of stays there, and there doesn't seem to be any particular reason as to why. Now, however, in that conversation that Hermes has with Calypso, he essentially tells her, you're going to let that man go. When she keeps protesting that she basically doesn't want to, he says, you're going to, or Zeus will fuck your life up. To quote here the Fagles translation, Hermes says, release him at once, just stow. Steer clear of the rage of Zeus, or down the years he'll fume and make your life a hell. So that would obviously imply that her life is not a hell. She lives reasonably fine on this island. It's just her island, and she doesn't ever really seem to leave. I think Epic is trying to lean into an idea that she cannot leave, which, despite the fact everybody gets mad at my pedantry and my use of semantics are extremely important. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with saying that she can't leave. We have no source that says whether it's a case of doesn't leave or can't leave. It's left extremely vague and muddled on that topic, so you get a little room to play there. The only thing is because you don't have reasons, if you're going to give her reasons for why she stays on the island, I would say at that point, look around at the mythos and everything else that's happening and take into account her parentage, which is, again, her father is Atlas, who was a Titan who sided with the Titans in the Titanomachia. So if we're going to give a reasoning for why potentially she can't leave, The best argument you could make would be that she very overtly, publicly, obviously sided with her father during the Titanomachia, and the reason she is potentially stuck on the island as opposed to just doesn't want to leave is because that is some form of punishment. But again, vagary, we don't know.
And if I pushed you, or if I came on too strong, or if I ambushed you, for that I'll say I was wrong. And if you hate me, then I am sorry, my love's too much for you. But I'm not sorry for loving you. I'm not sorry for loving you. I'm not sorry for loving you.
Sorry, I don't, How long is this song? 2 minutes. Let me compose my self a little bit. Okay, right now I'm trying to make the decision if I can continue this song, and this has nothing to do with edit. Well, I mean, I guess maybe it has a little to do with adaptation. I didn't expect to have a reaction that strong. Okay, I want to talk a bit, and then I'll see if I'm able to continue this song, and if I'm not, I will at least go read the lyrics and analyze to the best of my ability based on that, which I feel isn't fair to you guys who come and want me to react to the music, and it does mean I lose some of the music. I will say there is some lovely composing going on in there. The music has pretty much never been an issue, nor has the voice cast. I want to say anything I say about Calypso, the character, should never, ever be transposed onto the voice actress. Her voice is beautiful. In fact, I like that her voice has been a contrast to what we've heard from Athena and Scylla, Penelope, Aphrodite, and Hera, even in their sort of cameo moments. And she's a wonderful singer, and I'm sure she's an absolutely lovely person. Never transpose what you feel about a character onto an individual who's portraying them, right? They're playing a character. I had stated before that Calypso is essentially a poster child for emotional and narcissistic abuse, because that's absolutely what the character is. She holds Odysseus hostage for 7 years, ignores the fact that he frequently tries to tell her no in every respect. I don't want to be your lover. I don't want to be your man. I don't want to be here. He very explicitly tells her no, and she does not care. For 7 years, she holds him hostage, not caring. And even when the Olympus essentially comes down, Hermes functioning as Zeus's messenger, so he's essentially, this is Zeus telling her, you're gonna let that man go, she still tries to argue. I can also see the argument that they're gods. What's 7 years to a god? It's a lunch break. Not even, it's a snack break. I get that, because I've even said those things. I think anybody who has been a victim of some kind of abuse, especially abuse that is psychological or emotional, who's been a victim of narcissistic abuse, can recognize that in Calypso. I will state one concern, despite the fact I have not yet finished listening to the song. My one concern is that, quite honestly, I hope, given this musical's tendency to, we'll use the phrase, humanize the monsters, if we do that with Calypso, you run the risk of seeming like you're trying to excuse her behavior, and I think that's a problem. Providing nuance to a character is always great, and you can absolutely look at Calypso, and if you want to write her a backstory that explains why she does what she does, okay, you can explain why she does what she does without excusing her behavior. Similarly to how I think a lot of us who might watch crime dramas or whatever, or we, read about the serial killers or what have you, we can read that and go, oh, there's the psychological analysis of why that person behaves the way they do, but we're not excusing the behavior. It's also an important understanding of the nuance of you can be both a victim and a perpetrator. Now, again, it's left extremely vague in the ancient sources as to why Calypso is on this island, whether it be by choice or by punishment, what have you. We just really don't know enough about her. There's just not a lot given specifically on that topic that will give, of course, modern writers doing their interpretations the chance to flesh out that character. But what we do know are her actions. She holds a man hostage for 7 years and abuses him for the entirety of that 7 years. And even when she is told by the highest of authorities, essentially, Zeus, good to be the king, you're going to stop, you're going to let that man go, she tries to say, no, I don't want to. It's classic narcissistic behavior. In her reality, she's done nothing wrong. Sorry if I'm sounding kind of jumbled and all over the place. I didn't expect I was going to have that reaction. I mean, obviously I didn't anticipate the lyrics, so I didn't anticipate that reaction. I guess we're going to make this the big Calypso, I don't want to let you go, I'm going to double down on my abusive behavior song. I'm going to try to listen to the rest of this. I will not guarantee what kind of quality any discussion I might have will be, but let's continue the song.
I'm not sorry for loving you. Calypso. Let me speak. I spent my whole life here. Was cast away when I was young, alone for 100 years. I had no friends but the sky and sun. So when you washed ashore, I thought for sure that you were my dream come true. I thought I knew. So if I pushed you, or if I came on too strong, or if I ambushed you, for that I'll say I was wrong. And if you hate me, then I am sorry, my love's too much for you. But I'm not sorry for loving you. 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 I'm not sorry, I'm angry and tired and restless and sad. I'm stuck in the moments I swore that we...
Yeah, it seems, Jorge decided to, create a backstory for Calypso, saying that she was banished here, it seems, when she was young. I would guess this is meant to be implied to be the Titanomachia, although the saying she was here for 100 years, the Titanomachia is said to have happened pretty long ago, as they essentially had to also go through like their own flood myth and create their own new race of basically humankind that gives you Prometheus and Epimetheus, so it would have been a lot longer than 100 years ago. But The dates aren't really that important, I suppose, though it certainly makes her seem a lot younger than she actually is. Again, Calypso being the daughter of a Titan has been around for a good while. Yeah, we're essentially trying to explain her behavior, but we're getting it from the mouth of the person who's exhibiting the behavior, and so it's not going to be the most objective of viewpoints, if you will. It is her essentially defending her behavior. And while I think what Jorge was trying to do, one, it's extremely difficult to listen to, I have heard. I have heard all of these arguments before. I've heard them said to my face. And it is very important to remember that none of this excuses bad behavior. Again, you can explain behavior without excusing it. There is always nuance. And I think this song, beautiful as it is, again, the music's beautiful. The singer is wonderful. She's doing a lot. And nothing I'm saying is a reflection on the music or the singer at all in her portrayal of the character. She's been given a difficult character to play. I wonder if maybe we could have just served this song better, not giving her another aria. Make it clear that she's there to say, you've got to go. I've been ordered to let you go, and just kind of move on into something else. It's, and again, I'm not saying anything is bad because it's different. In fact, frankly, other than he's given a reasoning for why she is on this island, this isn't all that different, essentially, from sort of what we get in the Odyssey. You know, she argues she doesn't want to let him go. This is not a case of me saying, here's why it's different and why I'm not sure I like it. This is, I worry that in constantly wanting to, again, air quotes, humanize the monster, we've kind of gone in a direction this is an extremely delicate situation to be talking about. It's difficult, not to say that somebody can't do difficult stuff, but I think at times subtlety and nuance is not necessarily something Jorge has always gone for. Lyrically in this show, he does great subtle stuff in the music. Again, I think his strength is as a composer. The lyrics have been less strong in comparison, and so I think a topic that I'm sure he tried to handle with delicacy and, you know, dignity, grace, all these things in talking about a difficult subject that this song is. No matter the good intentions that went into making the song, I think it runs the risk of doing more harm than good. And again, this is all very much my personal opinion, but we've got a minute left, so we'll make it.
I wish you would chase me or try to embrace me for once. I wish you would lie and say I love you. You do? But not in the way that you want me to. I hate that I fell in love with you. Hate that I fell in love with you. Why did I fall in love with you? Why did I fall in love with you? What do I do with this love for you? What do I do with this love for you? How am I supposed to get over you? How am I supposed to get over you? Why in the world won't you love me too?
Anything I say about Odysseus' response, I worry will sound like victim blaming. I think this is a case of, this is an extremely delicate, nuanced situation, and for all the good intentions of what's happening here, I think it dropped the ball. I think the front of it, where we have Calypso saying someone has come to take you away, and just at least telling the audience that's what's happening, we can move along, because we've already understood from Love in Paradise that Calypso does not give a shit about how Odysseus feels, and it is all about her. And this second song, just trying to reinforce that, I think, was not as successful as Love in Paradise. I will at least note this. Odysseus' response, when he gets told by Calypso that he is being allowed to leave, he doesn't believe her at first. He thinks, you know, you're trying to trick me. In fact, he says, I won't set foot on a raft until you show good faith, until you consent to swear, goddess, a binding oath you'll never plot some new intrigue to harm me. So he has to essentially extract from her a divine promise. And Calypso's response to that is very telling, in that she does swear by the river Styx, but it says she smiles. Like, she still thinks nothing of his opinion. She's like, "Ah, what a wicked man you are, and never at a loss. What a thing to imagine, what a thing to say." Again, she doesn't give a shit about his feelings. And she manipulates him further, saying, you know, "Am I not as pretty as your wife?" All of these things. She uses these manipulative tactics to suddenly turn Odysseus into the one who's apologizing. There's a phrase that's used called darvo. It's a tactic often seen and used in narcissistic abuse, and it's on full display with Calypso, to the point that she gets Odysseus to say, "Ah, great goddess, don't be angry with me, please. All that you say is true, how well I know. Look at my wise Penelope. She falls far short of you, your beauty, stature. She's mortal after all, and you never age or die. Nevertheless, I long, I pine all my days to travel home and see the dawn of my return. And if God will wreck me yet again on the wine-dark sea, I can bear that too with a spirit tempered to endure." And what he does is placate her. Now it is a combination of, we are seeing an effect of really Darvo at work, where she makes him feel like he has to apologize. But he's also in an unfortunate power dynamic situation where she is still would be a nymph, a minor goddess, the daughter of a titan, and he is very much on the back step, even though there's an element of protection where she has to let him go. She has to do these things that Zeus has commanded. So I think I see that's why Jorge has that unfortunate moment of Odysseus saying, "I love you, but not the way you want me to," which, again, also cite, kind of as I have before, this idea that, let's remember, this was an actively practiced religion, that there is a supreme power dynamic between these characters, and they are seen as potentially gods. And so what he's doing is making sure he's not going to have any kind of divine retribution. It's less about, I'm making you feel better because I empathize with you, and more the like, I get that I'm currently getting what I want, but I've learned my lesson in pissing off gods. I'm just gonna apologize. This is not the kind of video I would normally want to make. It's not the kind I usually endeavor to make. I just did not realize the reaction I was gonna have to this song. And I think, given how the next song, however it goes, we'll find out, I might be able to better explain. I don't know if I can better explain. I don't know really where that thought was going, so the next song is dangerous, so let's go on to that.